Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Logan. I'm finally back to bring y'all some new content. This is my podcast for the week of January 10th, 2019. Now, first off, I want to start by apologizing for the amount of time that I've missed lately. My laptop just hasn't been working right, so I ain't been able to record any videos and get any content out to y'all. And also, nothing really's been dropping lately, so luckily, y'all haven't missed out on anything on that point. But again, I apologize, and hopefully everything's fixed now, so I'll be able to keep putting some new stuff out. I hope all of y'all had a great holiday season while I was gone. I know myself, I had a great Christmas, so yeah. But now the semester's getting started in school. I'm dealing with all of that, but I should be able to actually get y'all some pretty regular content now. To make up for missing the past few times, I will have a little bit more to talk about in this one, hopefully. I'll be having a usual topic, and then I'll also go over my top 10 albums for 2018. I'm not going to do a separate video for that since, it's a little late. No one really cares about that anymore, but I'm still going to put it out there just in case anyone would like to hear it. But first, what's coming out this coming week, tomorrow? I looked over the list, and there's really nothing. That's just how it goes the beginning of January. I think the first major albums should be dropping next week, hopefully. I'll keep posted on that. But with that being said, yeah, there's really nothing coming out this week. So, done with that part. What I've been listening to this past week, well, I actually decided to start going through a few discographies. Some of them short, some of them longer, to see, just to go through a whole artist body of work. I started off with Lupe, and I had a lot of fun with that one. I really loved Food and Liquor. I really loved The Cool, Food and Liquor 2, Tetsuo and Youth, and Drogas Wave. All of those are just fantastic albums. I love listening to them. And he just really has a very unique body of work. I also got through Chance the Rapper, Joey, and those are some fun ones to listen to. And then right now I'm actually going through Eminem's. I've done his quite a few times, but I haven't done it lately, so I decided, what the heck. I loved the first bit of it, of course, as always. And right now I'm currently in the middle of the hardest part of it, Revival. So, wish me luck to get through that. But then Kamikaze right after that is a step up at least. And yeah, that'll be the topic of my first discussion right now. How would I rank Eminem's discography? Now I'm going to start from bottom and move up to top. So this is just my personal opinion. This is how I would rank it. And it's kind of hard to do that because some of them are kind of personal decisions. So we'll just see where we go from here. So to start this list, the worst album out of all of them is by far Revival. You already knew it was coming. It's just terrible. Some of the best songs on this album would be the worst songs on his best albums. So, there's really nothing else to say. I'm not the biggest fan of Eminem doing, old school rock hooks on a song, and he does that a lot, and it's the worst examples of it. Now sometimes it works out, like in the song Sing for the Moment. That's a great song and a great example of him doing that, but on this album it absolutely does not work, and it's terrible. Many boring tracks, many lazy lines, and he's someone who's usually not known as a lazy writer, but on this album it was just awful. Yeah, moving on from that, the next one in my list, I'm going to have to go with Encore, and Encore is one of those that's really hard to rank because on one hand, you have this just string of horrible songs like Puke, My First Single, all of that. You all know, you've listened to it, you all know what I'm talking about. Just absolutely terrible songs. But then you also have the classics like Mockingbird and Like Toy Soldiers. I like the song Mosh. Yellow Brick Road is one of my personal favorites. And then there's still good songs on here. So this is one where it's if he left out just that string of 5 or 6 absolutely horrible songs, this could almost be a classic or at least a 7.5, 8 out of 10. But no, that string of terrible songs, that just ruins it. Moving on from Encore, the next album that I'll have to say is Recovery, and this is where it gets a little bit more subjective. Some people think Recovery is his best. I'm not going to be one of those people, but I do think it has its upsides. I'm not personally the biggest fan of the Eminem shouting and all of that bars. Some songs on here are really good, like Cold Wind Blows. I love that. That was a great way to intro it. There's other songs on here, but this is the one album where no single song really sticks out that much outside of like Cold Wind Blows, No Love, songs like that. He has some good lyricism on here, but he also has some lazy writing here and there. Not Afraid, I will have to say, is by far his most overrated song in his entire discography. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's not even close to the best song on the album. Not trashing it, it's not a bad song, but overall, Recovery is just one of those where it's like, it's not great, it's not even really good, but it's still enjoyable, fun to listen to. You can get through it pretty easily, but there are some parts, like, I'm not the biggest fan of him and Rihanna working together because they just don't work that well, and Love the Way You Lie is a very overrated song, in my opinion, and a lot of the pop following. But yeah, I've given enough time to Recovery. Let's move on to the next one, and with the next one, I've got to go with his newest one, Kamikaze. Kamikaze, that was just one that it was like, oh, it was so good to hear because it was like him getting back to form in a sense on some of the songs. Some of them are absolutely fantastic. Lucky You featuring Jordan Lucas, loved that, the feature and M's verse. The song Kamikaze itself was great. The Ringer was great. Love how he like dissing people, getting back to what he usually does. That's absolutely fantastic. But then there's also bad songs on here like Nice Guy and Good Guy or whatever. I don't even remember. Those are like, I skip those every time, honestly. Venom it's enjoyable, but like it's nothing special. You can tell it wasn't meant for the album. It was just meant for the movie. And then songs like that, pretty much absolutely anything having to do with relationships. He just should stay away from that by this point in his career. The next one up that I'm going to give it to, and I go back and forth with these two all the time, but I'm going to have to give the next one to Relapse. This is a personal classic of mine, although I just have to rank it lower than this next one because there are just some songs that don't work. They're kind of childish. And the accents don't always work, although I personally love it. This is the last time we really see any kind of writing related to something Slim Shady-esque. And I really enjoy this album. It's not perfect by any means, actually. It's probably one of his furthest from perfect outside of the just bad albums, but it's one of my personal favorites. Moving on from that, the next one is the Marshall Mathers LP2. This is one that at times seems a little drawn out, almost boring with the beat choices, but overall the songs are the closest to what you would expect from the Slim Shady LP, Marshall Mathers LP, and Eminem show. And obviously those are going to be my top three. But with this one, he has his fair track of good songs. Bad Guy is a great sequel to Stan, although it doesn't quite live up to it. Rap God, absolutely incredible song. Headlights, Love Game, Evil Twin, and then all of the bonuses on the deluxe. Those are all great, and I love this album. And then on from that, I'm not going to give too much time to talk about these next ones. You all know what's coming, but the next one for me is the Slim Shady LP, and the only reason that this one gets third is just because I honestly just love the other two more. It has nothing to do with me disliking this one at all. There's nowhere I can really talk bad about this one. It's just my personal taste. The next one, I have to go with the Eminem show, even though it's probably my personal favorite. I can definitely say it has more tracks on it that are less enjoyable when compared to the Marshall Mathers LP. And yeah, the Marshall Mathers LP is definitely number one. I mean, you got Stan, you got Kill You, you got so many classics, Criminal. I mean, it's just, everyone agrees it's his best, and it's one of the best rap albums ever, so you have to give it to it. That's my personal ranking. I know a lot of people would be interested in that because a lot of people love Eminem, and he's the one that got me into rap, so there you have it. That's my personal rankings of that. And now to get on with my top 10. First off, honorable mentions. Veteran by JPEG Mafia. Just really fun. Can be offensive to some people. I enjoy that. He's just throwing out everything on you. KOD by J. Cole I enjoy, although I go back and forth on that one a lot. Drogas Wave by Lupe Fiasco. There were a lot of good albums to come out this year. One I will have to go ahead and throw out because everyone will get offended that it's not in my top 10, honestly. Kids See Ghosts by Kids See Ghosts. Just absolutely love that project. It just wasn't quite good enough to reach my top 10. So with that being said, my top 10, let me count them out. 9, 10. So starting at number 10, some rap songs by Earl Sweatshirt. This is one that I went back and forth on. I honestly did not like it at all the first time I heard it. Just the mixing was absolutely horrible, but the more I listened to it, I understood the purpose for that. He's going through a depression. It's just how he feels. And yeah, he He talks about his headspace, and by the end of it, it does get a little bit more refined because he's having more positive thoughts, but he still lets you know that he's not in the right place mentally. And this is just a really good album. Probably not my personal favorite, Earl Sweatshirt, but still really good. Number 9, I got to go with Hell or High Water by City Morgue. And this is just one where it's like a trap metal album done better than ever before, probably. It's just one of the most fun projects to listen to, and I absolutely loved it. I could listen to it so many times. Number 8, Vacation in Hell by Flatbush Zombies. This was the first album through this year that I absolutely fell in love with. I listened to it so many times on repeat. You gotta admit, coming to it now, it's not as good as it was back then, but it's still so great. So many good songs on it. After that, I got to go with Room 25 by No Name. As I said earlier in the year, or last year, I am not the biggest fan of many female rappers. There's just not many that really stand out, but No Name is absolutely one that stands out. I love every single feature that she has. And then this project is just absolutely fantastic. I've gone back to it so many times. It's so easy to vibe with, and I really look forward to her next project, which could be a project with her, Smino, and Saba on it. So that I'm really looking forward to if that comes out this year or ever. My next one would be Book of Ryan by Royce da 5'9", and throughout the first part of this year, I thought this would be number 1, but it did slowly fall down as I went to revisit some or as more came out, and I just fell in love with them, and this one didn't really fall in any respects, but those just rose. This is a great project. He gets way more personal on this one than you've ever heard him, and I have to say this is by far his best album he's ever put out. Absolutely loved it. My next one, as we get into the top 5, is Pusha T's Daytona, and this was the first of the 7-song projects produced by Kanye West, and this was by far the best one, in my opinion. A lot of people would have Kids See Ghosts, but this one was the best one to me. This has Pusha T putting out some of his most grimy work since he was in Clips, and yeah, he just puts out great work. It's not too long, no real parts that should have been cut, just all great work. Moving on from that, number 4, I got to go with Pieces of a Man by Mick Jenkins, and just this year I found out I was a huge Mick Jenkins fan, and this project was absolutely amazing. I love how he throws back to the album Pieces of a Man by Gil Scott-Heron. Just recently listened to that, and that is an absolutely fantastic album to throw back to, so props to him for that. And yeah, this is just a great introspective album where he breaks down the pieces of who he is and then puts it back together. Just absolutely fantastic. Number 3, I got to go with one that most, if not all of you, have never heard of, and that's going to be So Many Feelings by Sho Baraka and Vanessa Hill. This is one where it can be entitled a Christian project, but I don't personally see it as that way, as they're not really pushing a religion on you. It's more they're talking about marriage in a context like Sho being the husband, Vanessa being the wife, and she's a singer, by the way, but they just go in on this project. They talk about the good to begin with, and then they talk about how it can start making cracks in it. Slowly but surely, they fall apart. They almost get a divorce, and, on and on. It just talks about it. And it does have it in a religious context, yes, but nonetheless, it just talks about how a relationship is in a very in-depth way. It's a great concept album, and I highly recommend, if you've never heard it, check it out right now because it's definitely worth it. At number 2, this is definitely by far, you all know, my favorite album, although it just doesn't get number 1 because it wasn't the best. Taboo by Denzel Curry. I could go back to this album every single day for the rest of my life, and I'd be happy. I love every song on this project, and many of them could be in contention for the anthem of the year. I mean, I just love this project so much. It is by far the most fun one to listen to, and if you've never heard it, listen to it. And then, just moving on finally to my number 1. I mean, you probably can guess what it is if you haven't heard it by this point. Care For Me by Saba. This is the best concept album. Just so depressing at times, but it ends with a upbeat ending. Talking a lot about how his cousin died. And just some of the best storytelling. I mean, just the best storytelling I've heard on a rap song in a long time. So I got to give it to Saba. He hit it out of the park with this one. He's just following up from his Bucket List project that I really enjoyed. I believe it came out last year. And this is just another step up from that, and I can't wait to hear what's coming from him next. Like I said, I heard he might be doing a project with No Name and Smino, so I really look forward to that. But yeah, got to give it to him. Best album of 2018, and we'll see what he comes out with next. So with that being said, that's my top 10. That's my ranking of Eminem's discography. Nothing's coming out this week, so maybe I'll have some more content coming out this week, but if not, I'll see y'all next week. Hope you enjoyed. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, share it, all those great things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.